right here, right now. This is the moment. This is your moment. Well, it was definitely with Esther. An incredible, incredible story. Listening to Wilma teach her the other day on radio, and I just thought, you know what? I've got to share this with you. It really, really, I just felt this is for you. Right here, right now. This is your moment. So what's happened is there's this guy, Haman. He's not too happy with a guy called Mordecai, and he cuddles up to the king, very bad king, not a nice guy whatsoever. And he says, look, I'll pay you so much. You're so great. You're so wonderful. But, Mordecai and these Jews, they need to be killed. And the king's like, okay, and says yes. And Esther hears of the story and like, what's going on? So Mordecai sends her a message and says, look, you know what you need to do? You need to go to the king and speak to him and plead with him for the lives of the people. Then Esther sends the message back, and it wasn't email, it wasn't WhatsApp. There was some dude that was walking backwards and forwards giving the message. And I always believe face-to-face is a lot better, but yeah, they also used messages. And then it says, then Esther spoke to this guy and gave him a message from Mordecai saying, all the king's servants and the people, now this is Esther 4 verse 11, of the king's provinces know that any person, not any person, but any person, be it man or woman, who shall go into the inner court to the king without being called, shall be put to death. There is but one law for him, except him to whom the king shall hold out the golden scepter, that he may live. But I have not been called to the king for these 30 days. So basically, she's saying, nope, it's just not going to happen. No deal. And then they told Mordecai what Esther said. And then Mordecai sent it back to Esther and said, listen, do not flatter yourself that you shall escape the king's palace any more than all the other Jews. So what you need to understand, you are a Jew. And this decree to kill me and all of us is all of us, including you. And you are not going to get away with it. So you're going to die anyway. For if you keep silent at this time, and this is the scripture I want to concentrate on from the word today, is for if you keep silent at this time, relief and deliverance shall arise for the Jews from elsewhere. So this was for the certain province in place, and the Jews, as God's chosen nation, will still get deliverance somewhere else. But you and your father's house will perish. So if you stay where you are, your father's house, everyone's going to die. All the Jews are going to die. Sure, God can, do it somewhere else or through someone else, but we are all going to die if you don't go and do this. And who knows but that you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this, and for this very occasion. This is such a brilliant moment. And there's a whole lot of steps that roll out. So I want to tell you that you have been added to this world for this moment in time. Not a second too soon and not a second too late. This is the perfect time for you to be here. And you have been called to do something. You have your Esther moment. Now, sure, you're going, God, are you crazy? How on this earth can you actually think that I can go ahead and do this? Well, because you've been appointed. And she's like, no, you've got to be crazy. I'm going to go and stand and say, yo, how's it going? I just want to plead for my people, and I'm going to get toasted. And Mordecai's going, well, whether you do this or whether you don't do this, it's still going to happen. You are going to die. So why not take a chance? And that's my question to you today. Why not take a chance? If you've given your life to Christ, where do you lose? The worst thing that can happen to you at this moment in time is you're going to die. but as Paul says in scripture, he says, listen, for me to die is to gain. But I've got to hang out and see if I can help a few of you guys, so I'm going to stay. So that's quite interesting. But we'll listen to what happens with Esther. So she kind of goes, okay, all right, I'm born for a time such as this, and I'm going to do this. But this is what's going to happen. So I am going to do what I've been called to do, but there's a responsibility on your shoulders too. So I'm going to be the hero of my story, but you need to be the hero of your story so I can go ahead and accomplish what I've been called to do. And this is what's so awesome, is we can't do this on our own. You have these great dreams and these visions and that kind of stuff. It's scary, but people have been called to support you, and they've been raised to support you. So Solomon went to his father David and he said, you know what, I don't think I could do this whole temple story. And David says, listen, be strong and courageous. Go read it. He says, be it. Not try and be strong, be what you are, and that is courageous. I'm telling you, be courageous. And then he takes, maybe you've heard this before, just do it. And then he says, my God will be with you. It's the same God. Solomon knew the same God as David knew. Why did he say my God? Well, what he was implying is if you knew God from my perspective, you're going to do this. It's okay. I've been where you're at. But here's the nice thing. There was a whole lot of people. Do you think Solomon had a special, did he wear his underwear on outside of his clothes? He was the superhuman that pulled out this little hammer and this little chisel and he built the temple. No. He was that king that decreed the temple's going to be built. There were people raised up from generation to generation, handing over skills and getting better at what they did to be able to build the temple. So you have your first duty saying, yes, Lord, I will do it. And then others, the people around you, have to come to the party. And look what she said. She said in verse 16, go gather together all the Jews that are present in Shushan and fast for me, and neither eat nor drink for 3 days, night or day. I also, and my maids will fast as you do. So she didn't expect them to do something she wasn't prepared to do. And that's very good when it comes to leadership. You can't expect people to do something that you haven't done or you're not at least prepared to do yourself. Then I will go to the king, though it is against the law. And this is the amazing thing. If I perish, I perish. If I die, I die. How amazing is this? Lord, whether this is a success or failure, I'm going to do it. Whether it's right or whether it's going to turn out right or wrong, I'm going to do it. What have I got to lose? Zero. Because you have God and you never lose him. You're giving your life to Christ, whether you live or die, you're going to spend eternity with Christ. So why not do it in the first place? And then it goes, and Mordecai now, I mean, what's this? He's the one that tells her. Now, Mordecai was her cousin, and her parents died, and he took her in as his daughter. So this is her representation of her father. And he's going, listen, this is what you need to do. So as being a leader in the Jewish nation and also being God's representation of him being the primary parent in her life, just imagine this is a father who's the head telling his daughter as the head, but as a father, that, my dear, this is the moment. This is everything we've been through, everything I've taught you, this raising, this is your moment. And she says to him, so what they must go and do and fast. And then he said, he went away, Mordecai went away in verse 17 and did all that Esther had commanded him. So it's a win-win situation for all, and everybody in the community has to be involved. Now, born for a time such as this. Now, what she had to do, now, this is also very important for you and I. We get a calling, we understand we're born for a time such as this, but she now had to be prepared for an entire year, that when she walked onto the floor and the king looked upon her, he went, and he was smitten by her. absolutely smitten by her. That even if he wanted, even though she opposed the law, his law, just her absolute beauty and that preparation for that moment, he would just. And he says to her, I'll give you half my kingdom. Tell me what you want. And she goes, no, king, I think we need to party. We need to have a party, a banquet in your name. Now, he'd like to party. And this is how the other guy, Haman, actually got to the king. Hey, we need to honor you. Let's have a party. And in that party, that's how he schmoozes him. Because Mordecai wouldn't bow to Haman. So he wanted to trash Mordecai and like, I'm going to make all your people die too. So this is what's at stake. There are thousands of lives at stake, including hers. And she goes, if I die, I die, but we've got to do this. And then she goes in front of the king. Preparation is important. God needs to build a strong foundation in our lives before he builds us up high. Because the higher you go, the deeper your foundation needs to be. So she gets prepared. If you have a vision, you have a dream, whatever it may be, are you that person that can carry that dream? She gets commissioned. She gets told at that time, this is what you've got to do. She goes, yes, let's do it. But everyone goes and prays, fasts, seeks God's face. And now she has to be prepared. They bath her in milk and a whole lot of other stuff that even when the king got a whiff of it, when he smelt her, he was just captivated by her. So they have the party. She chats to him. And then he goes, oh, what is it that you want? And watch how strong she is. The fact for me, if I'm walking out on the floor and the king says, okay, you're it, and what is it that I can give you? It's right there and then. I'm telling you what I want, and I'm out of there. It's like, whew, I made it out. She doesn't. She stands. And she says, I'll tell you later, but let's have a party for you. Let's honor you. How clever is that? She goes to honor him as king first, wins his heart over. Then he goes, okay, good party. What do you want now? She goes, no, one more party. And in that party, she chats to the king, and you must read the story. It's just such a clever move where she says to the king, oh, what happens is he can't sleep. Okay. He can't sleep, and he gets a guy to come and read the chronicles of his life as king. And in the Chronicles, he finds out that Mordecai, okay, Mordecai actually saved his life. And he goes, whoa, this Mordecai dude, what did I do for him saving my life? So he goes, nothing. And the king's like, what? Then he kind of goes and inquires. She kind of gets him to ask Haman, what would you do for a guy that has saved your life? What do you suggest you should do? He said, well, King, now Haman thinks, what would you do to give a man great honor? So he thinks the king's talking about him. So he says, oh, King, he needs to be led along the street and told to the people on what a great and wonderful guy he is and what he's done for the world. And then he should be honored, and he goes blah, and he goes into this whole thing as to what he wants, not knowing the king's asking Haman what he should do for Mordecai. And he said, you must use one of your your high office people to walk this man down the street so people know how important he is. Well, guess where you think Haman was. So the story leads out that Haman actually gets told by the king tells him that you need to go and lead Mordecai. So this is a guy that wants to kill Mordecai and the whole Jewish nation. And I don't want to do a spoiler alert. Go read the rest of the story. But the point is, you and I were called for times such as this. And if you do, if you don't, it's going to, what outcome do you want? Don't you want to rather say, if I tried, what would have happened? And here she is. She goes through the process. She's got to accept that. She's got to now be prepared in that preparation. And now here's the amazing thing. They win at the end of the day. Okay, so nobody gets killed. The Jewish nation gets saved. And you know what still has to happen? There's this whole cleanup. And there's a special Jewish celebration based around this, is they had to go kill 75,000 people connected to Haman to clean up, to make sure that through that it didn't happen again. 75,000 that in the first day they couldn't finish it. In the second day they completed. So what that means is, even though when you're called, you have to be prepared, foundation has to be set. And then once you are in that place that God has called you to, there's still a cleaning up. There's still this execution that you have to push forward and put everything into place. And how I like to liken it is, God gives you a dream. It's full of color. It's all amazing. And then you get there and he shows you it and it's all black and white. And you go, Lord, what's the deal? Well, the deal is, here's the crayons. You color it in. Choose your colors. And she went to live on, I think it was more than 13 years as queen. That ugly king guy that had all this happen, he got assassinated. But she lived on as queen for another 13 years. So by you saying yes and doing what God has called you to, however big or small, your Esther moment will never, ever be a disadvantage to you. God will recompense you for everything that you put in to say, yes, Father, what is it that you have me do? Jesus was in the same predicament. Father, take this cup from me. But you know what, Father? If this cup cannot be taken from me, your will be done. It's okay. Trust what's on your heart. Trust the God that has called you. And the rest will be history. His story through you. Till next time.